All right, let's get right into Chapter 5. This is such a pivotal chapter because it's the exact moment where the history of a whole nation and the story of a personal friendship both start to crack. We are just dropped right into the chaos. No warning, we're seeing this through the eyes of two little boys, Amir and Hassan, on a terrifying night in Kabul back in 1973. That's not thunder, that's not fireworks. That rat-a-tat-tat of gunfire is a shocking, violent intrusion into their childhood, and it's a sound that's about to become all too familiar for their country. So in this first part, we're going to look at how this huge, violent political event gets filtered through the completely innocent eyes of a child. To try and calm these terrified boys, their servant Ali, he makes up a story. It's this desperate, comforting lie to try and shield them from a brand new, very harsh reality. You have to remember, for these kids, the sound is totally new. It's shocking. But soon, a whole generation of kids in Afghanistan will know nothing but the sounds of gunfire and bombs. And here is what is so revealing about this moment. Even in the middle of all this terror, as Ali is holding them close, Amir feels this little sting of jealousy. He's envious of the affection that Ali is showing his own son, Hassan. That contrast, between the lie meant to comfort them and Amir's own inner turmoil, that's so important. This one night is a massive turning point. Of course, they don't know it yet. They're just huddled together in the dark. But for the Afghanistan they've always known, this is the beginning of the end. Okay, so let's jump to the next morning. We're going to see how all that personal confusion starts to give way to a huge national political shift. So the next day, there's this new word that they keep hearing over and over again on the radio: republic. Now, for Amir and Hassan, it's just a sound. It doesn't mean anything. They can't possibly understand that the entire monarchy, their whole system of government, is just gone. They're trying to wrap their heads around a concept that's way beyond them. And Hassan's question, wow, it just gets right to the heart of it all. See, for people without power, big political changes aren't about ideas or ideologies. They're about one thing: survival. Are we going to have to move? For him, the entire world is that house with Amir and Baba. And this new word, republic, feels like a direct threat to the only life he's ever known. And as you can see from this timeline, that moment in 1973 was just the first domino to fall. It was called a bloodless coup, but what it really did was kick off this chain reaction of violence and conflict that would just swallow Afghanistan for decades, leading right to the communist takeover and then the Soviet invasion. So, as the whole political world is shifting, we start to see these really extremist ideologies that were always kind of simmering under the surface. Now they're starting to boil over, and they're personified by one absolutely terrifying character. So let's really break down this character, Asif. On the one hand, yeah, he's the classic bully, right? He's got the brass knuckles, the scary nickname. But then you look at the other side of the ledger. This kid is a sociopath. He literally admires Hitler. He talks about having a vision for ethnic cleansing. This is so much more than just being a schoolyard jerk. This is a violent, hateful ideology, and the country's instability is giving him the green light. And here, Asif connects the dots for us. He takes this big political change and makes it personal and ugly. He sees the coup as an opportunity, and he immediately goes after Hassan, not for anything Hassan did, but just because of who he is, a Hazara. And then, Asif turns to Amir and puts him right on the spot with this question. And what's Amir's first thought? His first instinct? He almost blurts out, "He's not my friend. He's my servant." That one moment just rips open all the shame and the class divisions that Amir spends so much time trying to pretend don't exist. So now, this confrontation, it's escalating, and it leads to this huge test of courage and of loyalty. And in this standoff, everything gets flipped upside down. It's Hassan, the servant, who steps up and becomes the protector. I mean, look how this plays out. Asif raises his fist to hit Amir, and without a second of hesitation, Hassan's slingshot is out. He has this quiet, unshakable bravery that Amir knows, deep down, he could never, ever have himself. Chilling, right? The way Hassan delivers that line is so flat, so matter-of-fact. Amir can see the fear underneath it all, but to Asif, it looks like pure, absolute resolve. It is just an incredible act of loyalty in the face of this raw, violent hatred. All right, let's look at what happens next.
because we're about to see how an act of incredible generosity can actually end up creating a much deeper emotional wound. So for Hassan's birthday, Baba gives him a gift that he says will last forever. And it's just this profound act of fatherly love. And he doesn't just find some doctor down the street. No, he gets a famous plastic surgeon to fly in from New Delhi. This is a completely extraordinary thing to do for your servant's son. And this slide just lays it all out, the two totally opposite reactions. On one side, you've got Baba's intention. It's a gift of healing, of affection. But then look at Amir's reaction. He doesn't see it as kindness. He sees it as love being stolen from him. It gets so bad that he literally wishes he had a scar of his own, just to get some of his father's attention. And even with all the pain, the awful swelling after the surgery, what's Hassan's first reaction? It's just pure joy, pure gratitude. His simple whisper to Shakor and that painful smile, it is just such a heartbreaking contrast to Amir's quiet, simmering jealousy. And this chapter ends on this final, really haunting note that kind of foreshadows all the tragedy, personal and national, that's still to come. The surgery works perfectly. It erases that visible mark from Hassan's face. It's like a symbol of a fresh start, right? A clean slate. The physical imperfection is gone. And that last line, man, it just hangs in the air, doesn't it? It leaves us with this chilling, provocative question. At the exact moment his face is physically healed, something inside him is about to be shattered beyond repair. So what kind of invisible wound could be so deep that it would actually erase the smile from a boy as good and as joyful as Hassan?